Gather around, ye travelers, for welcome back to another hunting for knowledge with Netta. So, for today's hunting with knowledge, we are going to read the story of the Pig Children. Let us begin. No one, not the oldest dark elf of Mount Dagoth or the ancient sage of solitude himself, can recall a time when the orc did not ravage our fair Tamriel. Whatever foul and pestilent daedra of oblivion conjured them up could scarcely have created a more constant threat to the well-being of the civilized races of Tamriel than the obnoxious orc. Orcs are thankfully easy to recognize from other humanoids by their size, commonly 40 pertins in height and 15,000 angeids in weight, their brutal pig-like features, and their stench. They are consistently belligerent, morally grotesque, and intellectually moronic, and unclean. By all rights, the civilized races of Tamriel should have been able to purge the land of their blight eras ago. But their ferocity, animal cunning, and curious tribal loyalty have made them inevitable as leeches in a stagnant pool. Tales of orcish barbarity precede written records. When Justayaga wrote of the Order of Diangas joining the army of Daggerfell and Sentinel to hold at bay the wicked orcs in their foul Orsinium fastness and burn aught in cleansing flame. In First Era 1950, she assumed that any reader would be aware of the savagery of the orcs. When the siege was completed 30 years later, after the death of many heroes, including Gaiden Shinji, and the destruction of Orsinium scattered the orcish survivors throughout Rothgarian mountains, she further wrote, "The free peoples rejoiced for that their ancient fell enemy was dispersed into diverse parts." Obviously, the orcs had been terrorizing the region of Iliac Bay at least since the early years of the First Era. This is a very rather interesting read. So this one, it seems to me, this is a very biased history of the orcs. So what we do know about the orcs. So orcs, it seems as though they are almost seems as though they are worse. They are, if not, the same as Daedras, supposedly evil, wanting to cause destruction, destroy everything in their path. That kind of seems like what the narrative is here. Not only that, but it's also the descriptions we must also look to. Orcs are thankfully easy to recognize, commonly 40%. The height is not so much, but here, brutal pig-like features and their stench. It's very fascinating that this is the kind of stuff that they write, and if you think about it, this only goes to social. This actually helps socialize this and reinforces the idea that orcs are the worst. That we shouldn't associate with orcs. That everyone else, the Dunmer, the Thalmor, even the Nords and the Imperials, they should not at all associate with these people, because according to this, it's saying that orcs basically it almost seems like, in a way, it almost seemed like they almost destroyed the land of Tamriel. Even possibly, we could even say, might have even divided it, because if we go over to the next page here, it says that they were able to spread the orcs, even though they destroyed it. The orc survivors were scattered. So who's to say that they couldn't have scattered and then attacked other civilizations? It's very interesting how, because of a group of orcs that committed these crimes, orcs and nowadays are being, well, discriminated. The orcs of today are being discriminated for the mistakes of the orcs of the past. It's very interesting that they made sure to write this. The free peoples rejoiced for that their ancient fell enemy was dispersed into diverse parts. I can definitely understand the person who wrote this. However, can we still say that this still holds logical till today? Today, it's not like orcs are actively trying to attack. Some orcs even live in Balmora. So it's very interesting that despite centuries, because it even says here, in the First Era, in the 950th year that this is when this event happens. However, I believe we are now in the third era, which I believe is about maybe like 1,000 years ago at this point. Very interesting lore building. And this was the story of the pig children. Now, the title makes more sense because they're saying that the orcs themselves look like pigs, so of course we would regard them as the pig children. In my opinion, I feel like it is not fair to discriminate the orcs of today compared to the orcs who did this. I do understand that the orcs back then were barbaric and that they did attack. Like, we can't deny those facts. But it would be very sad, it would be very wrong for us to judge those orcs by these standards. These are like outdated standards. How could we do that? I don't necessarily agree with it. And with that, that concludes this episode of Knowledge for our Hunting for Knowledge. I will see you guys next time.